All right, so we are here with Sebastian. Sebastian, great to have you and chat today. We're excited to get to know you and see what we can do to help. See
Yeah,
what we can do to help you with some advice along the way. So with that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up, and how did you get And I see you're a student at Texas Christian University. Where'd you grow up, and how did you get to TCU?
yeah, of course. Thank you for having me, Ben. A quick review of myself. I'm from Peru. I was born and raised in Lima, Peru. Before I moved to America, I used to play soccer. I played soccer sometime back in Peru. Uh, and after I played soccer, I was fortunate to get a full scholarship at TCU, where right now I'm double majoring in finance on BIS, Business Information Systems. And I also right now I'm doing an internship at Valerian Capital, which is a private equity. We focus on acquire software companies at the moment. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
Nice. That's great. Always good to get that internship experience. Anything you could do to get hands-on experience is a lot more than just talking about it. So,
Yeah, that's perfect.
what
Especially
what types of projects are you working on with your internship?
well, right now I was lucky to get into the deal team, so I'm in the acquisitions team. So I'm getting some deal flow experience at the moment. So at the moment we're working in one deal in one the industry is restaurant software. Pretty much is a company that is going to replace the paper menu of the restaurants. We are trying to look the options to acquire this company that is having a tremendous growth in the last 3 years.
Great. So, are you doing work in Excel? Are you doing more qualitative research, or what types of tasks are you working on?
Yeah, I'm lucky to now be a lead team, so now I have more responsibility. So it's not just I'm sourcing deals. I'm also doing the modeling, the LBOs, also structuring the LOIs, the letter of intendance with the head of M&A. So I'm working in the whole process at the moment. I also was lucky to be in some meetings with the with the with the seller at the moment. So I'm more than happy to answer more questions about that.
Good, good, good. Well, hey, I would say don't call yourself lucky, all right? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So maybe you could say you feel fortunate. Maybe that would be my recommendation. Kind of talk about it like that. Makes it lucky sounds like you didn't earn it, so be careful with that. Okay.
Or if
Well, great. Look, I mean, that's cool. So congrats on the full scholarship, at TCU. Is that an academic scholarship or is that an athletic scholarship?
it's academic scholarship, unfortunately, TCU doesn't have a men's soccer team that play D1, only women's.
Oh, okay.
So I just play for fun at the moment. So yeah, it was
Good.
academic scholarship. Yeah.
Good, good, good. Okay. So yeah, I guess so. I see some of your questions that you got here, but I want to start where you want to start. So, in terms of our discussion, like what questions are at the top of your mind, or what have you found most challenging about the process so far?
Yeah. One of the questions that I have is when doing networking, what are the things that you think can make me stand out in a networking call?
Well, I think the number one thing is just be authentic, be yourself, be comfortable in your own skin. You have a unique story. Most people are not from Lima, Peru, who are
Okay.
recruiting for investment banking, out of Texas or out of any school in the
Ouch.
U.S. Immediately, you're different, and that's a good thing because that means that you'll stand out. It means that you'll stand out. So you being remembered is not going to be the hard part. Standing out is going to be the easy part. Now you have to back that up with the technical and behavioral pieces that all the interviewers are going to be looking for. One thing to remember throughout this whole recruiting process, and this is universally true for everybody, but it has different impacts on different people. But it's very much a risk management process. So the interviewer is trying to lower risk, meaning that failure for them would be hiring somebody who isn't going to perform well. And most of the time, that's not because of some voluntary thing. It doesn't mean that they came in with a bad attitude or something like that. Most of the time, that's because they got into the job and they're like, oh, geez, this isn't what I thought it was. I actually don't like this. That's what they're worried about. So what you have to do as the candidate, and this is universally true for everybody, but I'd say it's even more important for you, is you need to reduce that risk in the mind of the interviewer. So by articulating or by convincing them that you know what you're getting into, you know about the job, you're familiar with the challenges that you're going to face, and you're ready to take them head on. And I don't mean generic, broad challenges. I mean very specific, very narrow challenges that you will face as an analyst. Things like attention to detail, modeling, and so forth. Right? You're not going to be advising anybody on M&A. That's a very senior level task. That's something that a vice president or a director or a managing director would do. So you are supporting the M&A process, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just think about it in terms of risk. They want you to be successful, and if they don't think that if you're less likely to be successful than somebody else, then that other person's more likely to get the offer.
Okay.
So again, for you, it's not about standing out. That's going to be easy for you. Just be yourself. That's a good thing. But what you're going to want to articulate is, how have you faced those challenges that you're going to face in that role? How you succeeded? And then that will then reduce the risk in the mind of the interviewer that you might not be successful when you get on the job.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, what else? What else are you thinking about?
Yeah, I have a couple of more questions for you. Now that we just talked about networking, now talking more about how do I should best prepare for an interview. Do you think do research about the deals, about the companies is enough, or should I go more into look at the LinkedIn of the interviewer or know more about the personality of the interviewer so I can know if I can make jokes or know what type of approach should I get?
Look, doing research is always a good idea into the company, into the individual, but you're not doing it to try to predict that person's behavior or to try to predict what they're going to like or not like. You're really just doing it to help have a fun conversation. Help the conversation be interesting. If you do some research on someone's background, you can see if they were involved in this particular type of deal or this particular type of team or this particular company. Now you can ask them about that. You can say, hey, I saw in your background you worked on this deal. Tell me about that. What was that like? And now you sound like you're informed. You sound like you care. You sound like you're enjoying yourself, like you want to do this, like you're curious. And those are the types of things that impressions you want to create. And so research always a good thing, but you're not trying to do it in some weird like psychological CIA, way. You're not trying to.
Yeah.
Right. It's simpler than that. You just do your research so you can ask good questions and have a fun conversation. Show that you're curious. And the other part is that it comes back to that risk reduction part. If you're showing that you're curious, you're excited, you want to learn, you're ready to roll your sleeves up, then doing a little bit of research is expected. Right?
Perfect.
That's one of those behaviors they're going to expect from analysts automatically. So that's a good way to lower that risk because they're already seeing you in action. Oh, they came prepared to the meeting. They were well researched. They had notes. They were ready to go. And they were relaxed and confident and carried on an intelligent conversation. The other part of that is language. Using the lexicon, using the words that bankers use. And the best way to do that is to talk to as many bankers as possible. I saw that you wrote in your write-up here that you've networked with at least 50 bankers, and that's great. That's a good number. That's really one of the best ways that you can reduce your risk in the mind of the interviewer is by talking to lots of bankers, learning how they talk, and then you talk like they do, and that makes it easier for them to imagine you working with them. Right? If you don't understand the language and they're going to have to educate you on basic concepts, that's a turnoff for everybody. I don't care who you are. That's just a turnoff. You want to work with someone who already understands the basic concepts, has already rolled up their sleeves and done the research and put in the time to learn this stuff well before getting on the job. And again, you show that by doing research. But Hopefully that's helpful. What follow-up questions do you have, or what did I say that stood out to you?
Yeah, of course. For me, something that stood out about what you mentioned is the risk of how the interviewers are gonna actually look at me and to see if like how the risk how risky is gonna be to hire me or not. I think that's very important for a couple of reasons. Number one, because when you are just a sophomore trying to break into investment banking, there's a high probability that you're gonna either exit or you're gonna not gonna stay for longer time, or you just are not gonna be able to handle all the job. So for the interviewer, I think make sure to understand that the student, the applicant, is gonna be able to handle all this situation. I think is very relevant. How do you
Definitely.
communicate this for sure? Because yeah, it happened to me a couple of times in interviews. Interviewers ask me questions about my background and they deep into some decisions that I took, because the decisions that I took in the past for sure are going to reflect how I want to behave in the job and how successful I'm going to be. So as a follow up for you,
Yeah.
I would like to understand in your experience in coaching, what are the characteristics that make a candidate successful in the recruitment for investment banking? Is it more they have a very good behaviorals? Is it more that they talk with more people, or is a mix of both?
Well, the best candidates do talk to a lot of people, and that it's in that 50 to 100 range. Um, so there's just no substitute for that. But what I would say is the technicals are what we would call like the price of admission, meaning that just gets you an opportunity, that gets you a chance. Yeah, you got to know your technicals. It's the foundation. Um, you know, you got to know your accounting, your finance, and that's coming from those documents like the 400 questions document. In I don't know, do you know the 400 questions?
Of course,
Have
yeah.
you seen that one? Yeah, that's like the handbook of technical. You got to know that,
It's like the
and
Bible.
especially I would say you've got to know the basic level questions. The advanced you don't have to know as well, I would argue, but you've really got to master the basic questions. And because that 400 questions is separated into basic and advanced, and so you got half the questions are basic, half are advanced, about. And you've really got to master those basics, the basic ones. And I mean master. You've got to be able to answer every one right away without hemming and hawing, without delaying. Like you want to show up, be really confident. But that's not enough to get the job. All right, I want to be really clear about that. You have to have that, but that's not good enough. Then there's the behavioral piece, and that's one of the things that we call it is soft. We call it soft technicals.
Mhm.
So they're not technicals like asking you to walk me through increasing depreciation by $50. What are the impact of the three statements? That's a technical question. But the soft technicals are more like, hey, tell me about a deal you're following in the market. That's questions like that are going to be the difference maker. And your ability to articulate uh, the different, again, pieces of the language in the banking lexicon, talking about M&A, what's the purpose behind that transaction, what are the incentives going on, what's the impact and the outcome of that transaction, and most importantly, probably why is it interesting to you? Why did you pick that transaction? They care about your passion and your curiosity because that reduces risk. And so the technicals are required but are not good enough. And what's going to put you over the top is going to be, again, the behavioral, but I would just talk about that. That's more of the soft technicals, being confident, being comfortable, being yourself, and showing some energy, showing some passion, showing that I looked up this deal because I think this company is really cool for these three reasons. I've been following them for 5 years, and they just acquired this company, and the strategy is really interesting. Here's what I think they're trying to do. You see when I say that, like the energy comes through, the excitement, the curiosity, as opposed to, yes, I've been following, the
Yeah,
3M deal where they acquired blah blah
without
blah.
energy. Yeah.
Exactly. Like now they're wondering, like, is this person? I think they're just going through the motions. I don't think they actually want to be here. I don't think they actually are interested in this job. So that would be failure. Even though technically you're correct, but you can see how that's just not good enough. They need people who are curious, energetic, and passionate about this direction.
Yeah, make totally sense. Um, Talking about now, we suppose that someone get the job already and have a couple of offers. Uh, and my question here is, when you have a company with like a big name and then our company with like the best culture, like how do you approach the decision to where do I want to work? You will go to the best culture as possible or to the bank with the best deal flow? Or how do you think should be that priority of people to decide where to go to work as investment banker?
Yeah, that's definitely a personal question, right? You're going to have different people. It depends on your goals.
All right.
That one's hard to answer for me. I think that really depends on your goals. But I would say before you even get there, first, what hidden in your question is the assumption you're going to get more than one offer, right? And that you're going to have 3 different companies to choose from. Then you need to answer that question. Okay, but if your goal is to get investment banking, you only get one offer. You're taking the offer for the internship, and you're going to figure out the rest later, right? So before you even start to worry about that, you need to make sure that you're really well positioned with multiple firms and getting multiple offers, and then you can start to decide and differentiate between the offers based on those things that are important to you, like culture or deal flow or the types of customers that they serve, what types of clients do they work with, what regions of the globe do they work in, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Couple of more questions that I got for you.
Yeah, please.
One more question is talking about the preparation for investment banking. There's some people that they decide to fly to the location of the office. Other people that they just try to connect by phone. Do you think that flying it to the office is gonna stand out more than just connecting with the phone, or it's gonna be depend of what sort of connection you make on the phone? It can be even better than just fly to the office. Like in terms of how to stand out more.
I mean, this is an easy question for me to answer, and I really hammer on this a lot.
Right.
And my opinion, there's no substitute for getting boots on the ground, going to the city, physically showing up. All right, that's going to distinguish you in the best way possible. And I'm a little bit of a broken record on this, but get boots on the ground, show up. If you're physically there, they can't ignore. You're much harder to ignore. Also, it's a bit of a secret in getting meetings scheduled, a secret technique. Even if this is a technique I've used in sales, business to business sales, right? Trying to get contracts signed. And what you do is you reach out to a whole bunch of prospective clients or prospective bankers you're trying to network with. And you say, hey, I'm going to be headed to your city in a couple weeks. I'd love to meet you while I'm out there. And you don't even say what time frame, you didn't say what city, just send out 20 of those messages and see who gets back to you. And you might find that 4 or 5 people in one city got back to you, then book your trip. And now, before you've even booked the trip, you've actually got meetings already in the works. And then you follow up with them and get an actual coffee or a lunch or a breakfast or what have you. Get that scheduled. So that's just a technique. But the overarching strategy is you've got to get in person, especially if you're coming from a non-core school, right? Like you're not at Stanford, you're not at Harvard, and so those folks have a leg up. The banks come to them, and I'm sure you guys do get some recruiting activity, but especially for students who are coming a little bit off the beaten path, especially for students with unique backgrounds, you've got to get in person, get your boots on the ground. It's going to give you a leg up, and you're going to be looked at more favorably compared to students who didn't take that extra effort.
Yeah, no, that's for sure a good advice. Yeah, that happened to me a couple of weeks ago when I flew to New York, and yeah, I sent a couple of emails to a couple of bankers. Some of them replied to me because I flew with my school, and then I was with my school, but at the afternoon I was with other bankers that I reached out. So that helped me to create more connections and more coffee chats. So yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Awesome. And what about Houston?
Well, Houston is more focused on energy, oil and gas.
Yep.
At the moment, as I mentioned, I prefer to be more generalist. I don't want to just focus in one industry. Uh, so I'm not saying that I'm not going to energy, but at the moment I prefer to be a generalist. I think
Yeah,
energy and oil and gas is very cyclical, so
it is.
it's not my focus right now. At the beginning of my career, uh, in investment banking, a lot of banks from Houston, they come to my school, but
Yeah.
it's just a preference
Okay.
right now.
So if I'm just giving you advice, I understand what you're saying. If oil and gas is not your, it just doesn't strike you as being really high priority. Like I get that, I understand that. But what I am here to tell you, just it's my job to give you advice. And because it's proximity, it's closer to you. Um, they're already recruiting in your school. Like those are all really positive indicators that you have a good chance of succeeding and
Yeah.
recruiting for roles in oil and gas. Now Houston is a big city. They have banks that do more than oil and gas, but think about, something a lot of people don't think about is middle market. So I was middle market at Baird, but like the middle market in oil and gas compared to bulge bracket in oil and gas, very different. So the middle market is going to be much less cyclical, all right, much less boom and bust. There's always small companies that, because this isn't just uh, you know, upstream, oil producers. These are middlemen. These are, transporters. These are suppliers, vendors. The entire ecosystem of oil and gas. It's not just producers that are reliant on the price of a barrel of oil. And so look, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you advice on. I think that should be part of your approach. My recommendation. You think about it as a portfolio approach. New
Yeah.
York is great. Get boots on the ground. Go back to New York. Go back to New York. I recommend it. I mean, but also I would check out Houston, and I would check out middle market and boutique banks. Because what you want to do is think about where can you be successful, or that's not the right way to say it. Where can you, Sebastian, have an unfair advantage? So now imagine that there was a U.S. firm that focused on deals in Peru, right? And I don't know where they would be based. So let's just say they're in New York. But
Mm.
like, if there's a New York company that laser focuses on deals and companies in Peru, I don't know if that fits into your career goals. But what I'm saying is that based on your background, having grown up there, you will have an unfair advantage competing against other analysts, right, for that same role because of your unique background.
That's that's very curious because when I was in New York, I networked with people in Deutsche Bank that is focusing on M&A in Latin America, and they told me, "Hey, you are a perfect fit for this." In my mind, I was like, "Yeah, this sounds very good, but if I do M&A focus in Latin America, the deal flow is not gonna be that good. The exit opportunities are also not gonna be that good." But yeah, I mean, talking about it's not just that fair advantage, also the culture because people is like Latino like me. So so yeah, I'm looking very close to this option on Deutsche Bank in New York. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, makes sense.
Well, as opposed to like Russia or
Yeah,
Eastern Europe, you know what I mean? Like if you're going to work on an international deal team, you have an unfair advantage focusing on Latin America.
yeah, but
And I don't know. I don't poo-poo the exit opportunities. I would say the exit opportunities are up to you. If you're working for a brand name bank, um, you know, the deal experience and getting cross-border experience, like you're going to be able to parlay that in a lot of different directions. It doesn't mean don't worry about getting, branded as a Latin America only professional or something like that. Honestly, I don't think that that's the case. Don't worry about that. Instead, again, if you want to focus on where you will have an unfair advantage, because that's going to be your best probability ticket to getting in. And once you break into the industry, then you can go lots of different places. You can go all kinds of different places. You can go to a boutique, you can go to mid-market, bulge bracket, you can go to different cities, different product groups, different industry groups. Maybe in Latin America you end up doing a bunch of consumer deals. Well, now you can join an international consumer deal team. Now they're doing deals all over the world, not just Latin America. Or, do you understand what I'm saying? So you can use whatever experience you get to parlay that into a new opportunity in whatever direction you want to go.
Yeah.
So it's way more important to break in than to worry about exactly how it's going to unfold after you're in.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that I was talking with the people there. The people is amazing. I was just having those second thoughts in my mind about this. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very competitive. So I'm very open to all the options. And for sure, Latin America is one of my options since I'm Latino. Uh,
Absolutely. Well, you said it yourself. When you hear the employer saying, "Oh my goodness, you're a perfect fit for this,"
yeah,
that that's got to perk your ear. That should really pay attention to that, because they're giving you clues to where you have an unfair advantage.
yep, that makes sense. One more question that I have for you
Yeah.
is. What would be the best way to connect with people when you don't have nothing in common with them? Because usually the way that I'm connecting in networking calls is connecting with people that have something in common with me, like for example, alumni or Peruvians or Latinos. Uh, but there's some people in some banks that I don't have pretty much nothing with them in common. So what would be the best way to make them to reply to my email, in your opinion? Or how can I have this creativity? I don't really know.
Well, you're asking the right question. That's good. Very important when sending a cold email to someone. You want to lead with whatever your point of connection is, what we call a point of connection with that person. So maybe you share something in the background. Maybe you share a language. Maybe you share an interest. Maybe you share an alumni, affiliation, and so forth. But to answer your question, look, I mean, you can find something in common with anybody. If anything, it's just you both have a love and passion for M&A. There you go. That's something in common.
Oh,
The other way to find something in common is, hey, I'm interested in you. I was impressed when I researched your background, I was impressed by blank.
okay.
Just leave that. Now they know, wow, this guy did his research. He looked at what I accomplished. He's impressed from what I accomplished. I like him already, right? Yeah. So just, I guess, so one thing is like, think about what is a common interest you both have, and you can have any kind of interest you want. So immediately now you can craft that into something in common pretty easily. And then also just keep it simple. Research who they are, what they've done, what they've accomplished, and highlight something that you're impressed with. Now, the thing in common is that you're both impressed with that accomplishment. There you go. You have that in common.
That makes sense. I haven't thought on that, but yeah, I will start using that. That's a good advice. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One more question. I think we got time for one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, talking about the recruitment process, do you think when you are at the beginning of the recruitment process and you don't have any connections with any person in the bank, do you think reaching out to diversity recruiters, since I'm a diversity student, do you think reach out to diversity recruiters, it's a way to put my foot in the door, since I will have way more things in common with them, or straight with the bankers and then they can guide me through the process?
I think it's both. I mean, you want to take advantage of any avenue you can.
Okay.
And if you, because of your background, you think that there's a recruiter or a program that based on your background that gives you an advantage, you've got to take it. That's your job, to take any advantage you can get. And so the short answer is yes. Reach out to a recruiter if they have a diversity program, if you fit the backgrounds that they say are part of that program. Awesome. Take advantage of it. Go for it. There's no drawbacks. And don't stop there. And I would even say, too, find people who are like you and reach out to them. If I was going to go recruit for investment banking in Singapore, like in Thailand, what would I do? I would reach out to ex-US expats who I share a lot in common with, and I'd ask them, "Hey, how did you break in? How are you successful? What's it like being there?" Do you know, right?
Yeah.
So you want to do the same thing. So reach out to people that share as many elements of your background, whatever you think is more important, um, and ask them again, what's their experience like? How did they succeed? And they'll be able to help you. Especially if you can find people who are first, came from Peru and then broke into that industry. Like you need to know every single one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't, there's someone who came from Peru and works in New York in investment banking, and you haven't talked to them, then you are wrong.
Yeah, I've been talking with a lot of. I can tell you that.
Good,
But yeah,
good,
that's a very good advice.
and not just Peru, of course, but you know what I
No,
mean.
okay, of course.
Um,
All right. I think
Peru's a great country. I'll get there sometime. I haven't been there yet. I've been to Colombia a few times.
you should go. We have Machu Picchu. We have Amazon River. We have the coast, the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah,
Amazing country. Fully recommend
it
you.
is. I've heard wonderful things. One of my best friends from one of my last jobs, he's was a partner at this consulting firm I worked at, and he was born and raised in Peru, and
Wow,
now he lives about a mile and a half from me, and we get lunch once in a while. So
that's awesome. I
cool.
think we're just right on time, right?
Yeah, we're on time. No rush.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you got any other questions, I'll take it.
Yeah, I have one more. If that's
Yeah, go ahead.
uh, I got one more, and this is more related to how, when you're in recruitment process, how do you think is the best way to, uh, like, kind of create your priorities instead of what groups do you want to apply to? Because for every group, usually you have to networking. Um, there's a bunch of opportunities out there, but like what is the number do you think, you know what, that's what you should focus on? In my head was more like I should be focusing in three groups and do a heavy networking with them. Or do you think like I should increase more the number of groups that I'm talking to increase more the networking? Or you think three and heavy networking is going to be enough to get at least a super day?
Hmm. So you're talking about one bank. Do you want how many groups do you want to talk to?
Yeah, because for example, I'm talking with this elite boutique. They have open houses and diversity events.
Yep.
So I want to apply to all of them, but I just don't think it's gonna be effective and efficient for me to just apply to all of them, since I will not have the time to network with all of them. Uh, since I have a school,
Yeah,
a job.
it's a really good question. It's a really good question. You've got to find a balance, because you want to apply to and focus on enough groups and enough opportunities that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? You're not only relying on one thing to come through, but you don't want to apply to so many that you can't get traction, right? That you can't get, uh, you know, that you can't make a positive impact and get attention of that because you're spreading yourself too thin. So that's a balance, and I would recommend, and this is not a perfect number, but at least five, and then probably not more than eight. So I think you're in that 5 to 8 range if you think about application processes. Okay, that's how I break it down. Now, some banks, maybe a middle market bank, they have one process for all their locations, and it's kind of only like one recruiting process for all the locations. Some banks have separate recruiting process for, one for New York, one for Chicago, one for LA, even though it's all JP Morgan or whatever.
Yeah.
That is, you have to treat that like 3 separate applications. So in that case, if you have, one Baird application and then 3 JP Morgan applications at 3 different locations, that's 4 applications.
Oh,
And I think you want to be in that 5 to 8 range.
okay, 5 to 8 range. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Because
Yeah, because in that example with JP Morgan, you have to talk to the New York bankers, you have to talk to the Chicago bankers, you have to talk to the Los Angeles bankers, all separately, and they might as well be different banks.
Okay. Yep. That make a lot of sense. I will try to do it in that way. I am trying to do.
And you got to know how their recruiting works. right? That's a good question for you to ask. Hey, does your recruiting work by location? Is it a separate process, separate application, or do you combine them all together?
I'm for example in the Lima team that I'm having very good conversations right now. They have different applications for different locations. So
Hmm.
in Tech IB that they have in Menlo Park, it's a different application than the one they have in restructuring in New York,
Exactly.
the one that they have in industrials in Chicago. So yeah, it's different. That's why I like all of them. I also was trying to give priority to some of them, but I will just try to increase the networking activity that I will do there for sure. Um, yeah. One, I think that's all my questions for now. Was very insightful. I learned a lot. They give me a better structure for myself to go through this process of investment banking for sure.
Cool. Absolutely. Yeah, Sebastian, great to meet you. Thanks for taking some time to chat. And just remember, the key part about if a good strategy is going to give you an unfair advantage. It's the same in business, right? That's what a competitive advantage is, right? A moat
Yeah.
around your business. That's great strategy. So you think about your strategy, think about where can you put yourself where you have an unfair advantage. And if you keep doing that over and over, you're going to win.
Thank you so much. I will do that. Thank you so much, man.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Sebastian. Take care. Best of luck, and please reach out if you have any more questions or I can be of help.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right, take care.